That's the sound of Major Accident, the punk band from Darlington. And that was the track off their now deleted LP, Massacred Melodies. The track you're listening to there was called Schizophrenic. Well, as you're about to hear, they've now been signed to the record company Flickknife, and we'll be hearing their new single in just a few moments' time. It was released just yesterday. First of all, let's meet the band, though. They are Dave Hammond on guitars and vocals, Evo Evans on drums, Con Larkin on bass and vocals, and Paul Larkin on vocals. I asked them, when they came into the studio a few nights ago, how they got started.
Started in 1977. None of us could play. We just, well, that was the day when nobody could play in a punk band, wasn't it? We just all bought guitars now because we were really into the music. We just learnt from there. Started off playing local youth clubs and doing other people's songs and just progressed from there.
And the punk music, was that sort of a great attraction for you at that time? Obviously it still is, but was that the only thing that you wanted to play? I was wondering if you've tried any other sort of stuff.
Never been anything like it before that. You know, I had all the aggression, and speed.
Anybody could get up and do it.
Yeah, it was street. Well, yeah, I mean, you might laugh, but it was. That's what it is today, street. All the best bands come from the street.
How do you think punk's still on very much a strong force in the pop world? I mean, there's not much of it, certainly commercially speaking. I was wondering how strong it is at the street level.
Still a market for it, isn't there?
Oh, yes, there's a big market for it.
It's massive cult following, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not so commercial as what it used to be, but it's still a massive cult following when you go to places like Manchester, right, especially North, Leeds, Bradford and places like that.
But having said that, we're trying to make it more commercial.
Yeah.
Well, when you're saying that a lot of the concerts are not so much in this area, I suspect that's probably because you tend to get pushed out by the heavy metal, which is so prevalent around the northeast.
Not really, mainly because, well, it's hard to get gigs there, yeah, but I mean, you can't just keep playing in the northeast forever, otherwise you're never going to get anywhere. You're just going to be a local band, as it would be.
So, I mean, presumably, when you're playing in gigs and so on, are you usually doing a complete night yourself, or do you like to work with other bands?
Well, so
we'll do both, don't we?
Yeah.
The last tour, we headlined the last tour.
But we started off supporting bands. Like, we had a 2-week tour with Chelsea and a week tour with Infrared, and a couple of others that fell through, but they were the ones that happened. And the last tour we did, we headlined with the Blood as a support to us.
Tell me about getting a record contract, because I think a lot of bands, this is the sort of ultimate thing. It often leads to a lot of problems. I know there's always sort of clashes of one sort or another, but how easy did you find it to land a contract?
It wasn't easy at all. We practically gave up at first, and we actually recorded the first album ourselves. Brian and us, we chipped together and paid for it, recorded the album ourselves, and then, as it would be, it was... Can we mention Radio Tees? But it was through Radio Tees.
Independent radio.
They had they had one of these nights where they have 5 local bands on, they have all the people come. Well, they didn't want us on. We were a punk band. But we'd sent in a tape anyway, and a bloke from A&M came up, and he read a list of all the names, and he took the name Major Accident because they were looking for a punk band. And he thought it was a good name, so he got in touch with us, and we sent him a tape, and he flew up to Teesside Airport to see us, but he thought that we'd be lost on a big label because we'd never get in the indie charts, and we never saw enough to get in the real charts, the type of stuff we're doing. So,
at the time,
he put us on to Faulty, which was like a subsidiary of A&M, the independent side, and they liked it and they signed us up for the deal.
Why did he think he picked you out from a lot of other punk bands? What do you feel is your own strength?
Well, it was the name that originally caught him, because he'd never heard us. It was the name, and the name of the tape, Massacred Melodies, Major Accident. He thought it was very original, and he liked the music because it was more than a thrash, which was the past couple of years punk rock has been a thrash noise with screaming, and whereas we've got a tune with melodies.
So punk hasn't always been that. It makes it sound as if it has itself changed.
Yeah, it has. As it's become off, as it's come off the commercial market, there's very few commercial punk bands left, and it's gone into the thrash side.
What do you think will happen to punk now? Because, as you say, it has changed. It has, to a certain extent, died away. There aren't many bands at the forefront getting into the charts. I'm not saying that that's an important measure of music by any means, but it's suddenly dropped out of the limelight. Where do you see it going now?
Well, I think it's just on the verge of making a comeback because there is more commercial bands like us starting to get known again, and pretty soon somebody's got to break through, get a couple of commercial punk songs on top of the pops, and you'll catch people's attention again because people don't know it's there. They think punk rock is dead.
Yeah, dead.
Which is horrible
Yes,
thing to
no.
say.
It to me, I'm sorry to say this, it always sounds a bit the same. It's
Yeah,
just a sort of a
that's-
wall of very, very fast
That's
songs.
what we're trying to break, because
That's
all
it.
the modern bands, they all do sound the same. I mean, I've gone into deep research, I've listened to all the albums and all the modern stuff, but there's not enough. There was more talent in 77. People said there was no talent in 77, but there was a lot of good stuff came out. More commercial stuff, like the Skids, etc., just an example. Nowadays, it's just more noisy, isn't
Even the
it?
Sex Pistols is very commercial by today's standards.
Yeah.
I noticed that you've got, looking through your press releases, you've got a very strong identity. I was looking at it and said, this looks like a sort of Clockwork Orange image. Does that tie in with punk? That's a sort of, I mean, the film itself, I seem to remember, was back in the, what would be the
71,
70s, early 70s, yeah.
Yeah, well,
What made that connection for you?
apart from that it looks good, it was a youth cult, wasn't it? It was what was the ultimate youth cult. They had their own language. They lived a carefree life, didn't care for authority. I mean, suppose it's like when the young kid sees just William on the telly. That's the sort of relationship it is, isn't it?
So,
James Dean in the 1950s. Yeah.
do you try and get that sort of atmosphere or image into your own live gigs?
Yeah.
What sort of show do you like to put on?
We started off with Warsaw by David Bowie as a backing tape, which is a very eerie music. We like to have the lights dim. Well, so we hit the stage, and then we break into Clockwork Toys, which are very fast, and it gives a sort of effect of
stuff.
it's like a punch in the jaw, really. Everybody's dead, quiet, and dismal, eerie music, and then suddenly you're getting your head blown off by this fast guitar.
It's a build-up.
Well, let's talk about what you're hoping for in the future. You're about to bring out a new single, which came out on Friday. Tell me about that. Do you see that as making... What sort of impact would you like it to see?
Well, we'd like to see it bring commercial punk back to the people,
forefront.
let people know they're still here, and get people who don't know this interested again.
Who are you aiming it at in that case?
Well, there's a lot of people who think punk's dead, and there's a lot of younger people who've never had the chance. When 1977 was a long time ago, 6 years ago. Somebody who was 10 then and who went into music, 16 today, and very into it.
Well, tell me about this new single. What's is there any meaning, or is that pretty pretentious?
Yeah, it's about life on the dole. Because I'm on the dole and I had a lot of trouble with it when we went on tour with Chelsea, and they stopped my dole for a few months, and I was on the breadline, and they didn't care. I could have died for all they knew if I wasn't living at home with somebody to support me. I would have had no money whatsoever. So it's just our way of getting back at the system as it might be.